the embossing's there. Your white lines are sticking up in space even though they're not inked at all. The brightest possible line would be just white paper or cream paper, right? And sometimes people will put a light color in there, like a light yellow, and then they'll roll purple on the surface or something to get these different effects. So they're doing all that, like ink in the lines and ink on the surface. They might also roll the edges red color or whatever. They actually roll them instead of cleaning them. Roll the color on the edges so it's painterly in every way, painterly surface. And I'll show you some examples where they roll the surface and then they remove some of the paint so it looks like a little painting on the surface. Usually rolling it and removing it gives you a better effect because you don't have any parts that are too thick that might squish and destroy details. So you're removing it and getting every possible value below the value you rolled on. Right. This black would be an example. I could do like super detailed, even draw things in the background like clouds and stuff, and do a whole monoprint to the background that's blank here with by how I remove the black. But in this case, I'm just going to roll it. So I'm going to add this additive, which is set swell. Set swell makes this ink just a little bit softer, but I don't want to make it very much softer. It tends to bead up a little bit, like make black dots across it because it is so stiff, and this helps out a little bit. But sometimes I still would just print it with the black dots because there's so much pressure it all squeezes out to be pretty, just almost black anyway, without, you don't see the dots anymore after it goes through the press. So the secret of rollouts, and you know this, that you knew about the 3 beads, is when you do a bead of ink, a better name might be a line of ink, but you have to set it up for like all the prints, like if 10 people are going to do it or 15 people. This is all the ink. A lot of people roll out all the ink and it's like overpowers that etching immediately because the lines are only so deep and the ink's 4 times thicker. You can't help. It's like a cake frosting just going every line, right? This ink has to be thinner than those lines are deep. Just from tests, like we've rolled it up and printed on paper, it takes about 3 beads to make black, solid black. You have a nice thin, no mountain range, just super thin right here. So a bead though isn't even like rolling it all in here. I'm just gonna get a little bit on here. That's why they call it a bead. That's like a bead, a line of ink. Bead is another way to talk about a line. And only by like letting the roller spin I can get that rolled out. I don't have to get it all rolled out now because I'm gonna take 3 beads total. Second bead. 4 would be too many. 2 is just a little. Make a nice dark, even, almost black gray. It seems to take about 3. And students have worked out their own ways too. I've seen students roll their plate a bunch of times, so I try to do it in 1 roll or 2 at the most. But they'll have even thinner ink, but they'll roll it more times until like they get it even there. Circumference really matters in rollers. This circumference, the diameter, I mean, is like about 1 inch and 3/4, or I think it's actually 2 3/4. It's almost 3 inches, so it means almost 9 inches before it would run out. It wouldn't leave a line. That would be a line, something that would show right on the print. So if the roller's bigger, it's really safer to not have like, oh, this one worked, but the last one didn't work because that line just happened to show right in the middle of your black, perfect solid. So to get rid of the line, I do have to know where I lift up the roller. You'll sometimes just hold it. Now I know it won't show up again for 9 inches, so I have the line in front of the plate and then showing up again past the plate. So you want to know where you lifted it, especially true on these bigger rollers, because the line would be horrible, but also will roll like the whole 18 inches or whatever. That's why we have the big ones back in the back of the room, like big 18-inch rollers, 4-inch width that can go 12 inches, and the giant one back there that can do 22 inches. Actually goes to full 30.
Wow.
So it's like, I think it must be it must be at least 12-inch diameter through, and then it goes 30 inches before it runs out, makes a line. All right, happy with this now, doing my like obsessive compulsive thing here. Get this all ready. Like, you could even just hold it for the first second. You could put something sticky underneath it. We have that grabbing stuff, but I don't want to get ink all over it. You know, stuff you put underneath rugs. Or a little circle of tape, but I found that it kind of bumps on that circle of tape, so I'd rather just kind of hold it to get started. There was oil on this table, and I purposely got rid of it because it could get on the roller, and then this could start acting really weird. there was any oil on this thing, it might just reject patterns, so fingerprint patterns and stuff. Two oils don't like each other. They have to be the same amount of oil in them. So I cleaned it with alcohol. You can put it down. That can't move, but I don't know that this, I'm not pushing down hard at all, but I might push ever so lightly. So I'm gonna give it a second roll. Maybe that low spot or whatever, I can get rid of it. It did touch everywhere though. Some plates will leave a blank spot where the plate was bent and there's a low spot. So you realize you have to push hard on the roller or roll the other direction. If it's rolling this way, it might not get the low spot, but the other way it would get the low spot because it's going down and uphill. Just to make this more even, second one will be more guaranteed black anyway. I don't know about that one dot. We might have to just tap it in with a little Q-tip or something. I think I'll just do the same thing but the other direction. So those are the dots I was talking about. That looks pretty black. That's going to probably have no dots by the time it goes through the press. Think about thousands of pounds per square inch. It's going to take care of that. The other thing is we want to wipe the bevel. If you forget, you'll have ink on two bevels, and the two bevels are wiped. So you have to go around the bevel again. But otherwise, I took some time with this, but this is all set up now, so I can print every 30 seconds. I can make another one, So you guys can we might clean this area. Good Raiders paper cleans pretty fast, right?
Oh, wow.
I knew someone that actually had 22 by 30 prints, and they had these rollers that were this wide and they were this thick. And they had to clean 3 rollers for each print. And I'd watch them they had to clean their ink too because it would get some stains in it. And they would just be like, oh, no problem, I'm printing 12 today or whatever. But they were so fast with that because it just became like something they had to get good at. So your cleanup's not as hard as it had to be if you were running like a marathon or trying to win a prize or something. So this will look really cool. I think you'll be happy with the white line version.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we can try another one where we remove some of the ink. I'll set up the rainbow color where we just print a rainbow of colors across, maybe a black inked one. And it can be like yellow ochre at the bottom and then rainbow colors at the top, so it looks like earth and then sky. And then you can remove some of it to do the monoprint thing, remove it out of the figure. All you have to do is just barely touch it with some paper up through the figure and it'll list it off really easily. Because the line, it won't take the ink out of the black line just to barely touch the surface. It'll just take the rainbow color out of the figure so it's in front of the background. Or we can do what's called, I mentioned this in my notes, I didn't mention this, it's like, we can make a frisket. That's a thing, like you took one of your prints and you cut this shape out of it, just the shape. So the print's okay, but you cut the sky out of it. And you cut it about a 1/16 of an inch wider, and we lay it over your plate and we roll, and it only goes in the background perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you had a second plate, but instead you're using a frisket, and it's a surface, but it looks like you had an aqua tint there or something.
Yeah.
And so people do those. They'll even flip 2 of them over. When we looked at the Warrington Colescotts, might have car headlights, and he'd have like a window with light. He'd have different one. He'd roll up different colors on the inked up plate. So that might be a cool thing if you decide you like black in the figure, but then this rainbowy thing, like very graphic look to it.
Yeah.
Or you might want to try the monoprint one where you just roll the whole thing and then each time you remove it differently. Because you could also tap some colors on it too that we didn't roll up. Or even paint a few colors on it.
Cool.
All right, so this will be printed. Maybe we'll shoot the movie again when you print it.